guys, as we're getting ready to start our service and people are walking in, just want to encourage you just to stand up and just greet each other for a moment, and then we will get going. So. God be praised forever and always. God, we praise you here. God, you reign forever and always. God, we extol you here. Here we go, come on. Together, guys, just worship the Lord. Sing, God be praised. Oh, and God be praised forever and always. And God, we praise you here. And God, you reign forever and always. Oh, and God, we exalt you. We will welcome the
not fail me now. You won't fail me now. In the waiting, the same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will. Oh, yes, I will. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now. In the waiting, the same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Oh yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Oh yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against, and I choose to praise, to glorify the name of all names. And nothing can stand against. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Oh yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will. Let's give the Lord a shout of praise. In my mother's womb, you formed me with your hands, known and loved by you. Before I took a breath, when I doubted, Lord, remind me I'm wonderfully made. You're an artist and a martyr. I'm the canvas and the clay. You make all things work together for my future and for my good. You make all things work together for your glory and for your name. Do you believe that this morning? God is good. His plans are good. His plans of hope, future.
future for us. There's a healing light just beyond the clouds. Though I walk through fire, I see clearly now. I know nothing's been wasted, no failure or mistake. You're an artist and a potter, I'm the canvas and the clay. You make all things work together for my future and for my good. You make all things work together for your glory and for your name. You make all things work together for my future. Thank you, God, and for my good. You make all things work together for your glory and for your name. When I doubt it, Lord, remind me I'm wonderfully made. You're an artist and a potter, I'm the canvas and the clay. And I know nothing has been wasted, no failure or mistake. 'Cause you're an artist and a potter, I'm the canvas and the clay. You make all things work together for my future and for my good. You make all things work together for your glory and for your name. And when I doubt it, Lord, remind me I'm wonderfully made. You're an artist and a potter, I'm the canvas and the clay. And I know nothing has been wasted, no failure or mistake. 'Cause you're an artist and a potter, I'm the canvas and the clay. You're so good, so good. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. And when I doubt it, Lord, remind me I'm wonderfully made. You're an artist and a potter, I'm the canvas and the clay. And I know nothing has been wasted, no failure or mistake. 'Cause you're an artist and a potter, I'm the canvas and the clay. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. You're not finished with me. You're not finished with me yet. Sing that chorus one more time. You make all things. You make all things work together for my future and for my good. You make all things work together for your glory and for your name. Father, we believe that this morning. We believe, Jesus, that we're made in your image, in your likeness. You're the potter, we are the clay. You form us, you mold us, you shape us, and we are in your hand. This morning, we are in your hand. We love you. We worship you, God. Choose to trust you, to walk with you, knowing that you are good, you're faithful till the end. Love you, Jesus. Gina, please.
You will never leave. Your love sustaining me. Before I even knew what love was, you brought me here to rest, giving me space to breathe. So I'll stay still until it sinks in. I will lean back
you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. Oh God, you're so good. You've been so good to me, God. And God, you're so good. You're so good to me.
Sometimes our circumstances make it seem like everything's working amazing, and it's easy to lean back into God's arms when that's happening. But what about when it's not? What about when it's difficult and it's hard? I love the way the last song started. It started by saying that God is always there and he'll never leave. What an invitation to come into God's arms. You may be seated. The thought that God wants me to just experience him is incredible. If you're visiting with us, we're so glad you're here. We want you to stop by at the hub. If you want to find out a little bit more about what's happening here at PCC, we have Taste and See in the studio, and you can come by and talk to some of the pastors, or if you just want to sneak in and have some snacks, you can do that as well. Today's going to be a little bit different. Go ahead and go to the next slide if you would. We have some members that are here. So if you're becoming a member today, stand up. I saw David in the back. Is there anyone else? Okay, these are some. There's some people that have gone through the process. There he is. You moved up. You were sneaky. You were back there before. Go ahead and sit down. We just wanted to acknowledge you and let you know. Go to the next slide if you would. Thanksgiving Eve service. It's going to happen this Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. It's a great time to come and share some of the stories about God's faithfulness and how amazing he is. Thanksgiving lunch. If you're an international or if you're just looking for some food, you can sign up online. We'd love to have you from 11 to 3. It's a great opportunity to just hang out with people and have a meal. All you have to do is sign up online. You'll be able to come to that. We're going to be praying for the persecuted church. Bingo, those two kind of go together. One's like really intense and cool, and the other one's like really serious. Not sure which one I'm talking about. IOCP Sleep Out, that's happening on the 14th. And then one last thing is today we're not going to have an offering like we normally do. That's going to come at the very end of the service, and we're going to give you multiple different ways to respond, and we want to make sure that anyone that is ready to respond will have the opportunity. So you can give a check, but we realize that almost nobody in here has checks anymore, so we want to make sure that you have access to give cash or check or online, or you can even text, or you can do it from your bank card out there in the hub. Those are just opportunities. And the reason that we want to make it so easily accessible to you is because we passionately believe what we're doing. And the Unleashing Hope is where our church isn't going to keep any of the money, and we're going to send every single penny of it outside of our church. And to me, that's kind of cool and exciting and something that we passionately believe in. So if you look up onto the side screens, you'll get to hear a little bit of, to start off about what's happening with Unleashing Hope.
God is unleashing hope through Plymouth Covenant Church and around the world in our local community through our mission partners. We have 10 global mission partners throughout the world and 7 local mission partners. Globally, we have 4 partners in the Americas: Alaska, Belize, Mexico, and Nicaragua. We have global partners in Asia: India, Japan, Russia, and we have 3 global partners in Africa: Ethiopia, and 2 partners in Kenya: Light of Hope, and Love for Kenya. Our 7 local mission partners address essential needs in our own backyard. These partners include Treehouse, Together for Good, Families Moving Forward, Minnesota Teen and Adult Challenge, Interfaith Outreach, Loaves and Fishes, and the Robbinsdale Women's Center. Through our Unleashing Hope campaign, we fund initiatives that advance the gospel, transform communities, and fight poverty. We'd like to highlight just a few of our projects for the coming year. The first project is Treehouse. Their mission is to end teenage hopelessness by extending grace and building community. They advance the gospel through consistent outreach to teenagers right here in our community. This year, we would like to purchase them a van so that they can transport more students to their weekly events. They are providing hope to students in our community that do not know Jesus. The second project is in Kenya. At Love for Kenya, we want to unleash hope to transform the local community through building outhouses, providing water systems, and building and repairing homes for widows, who are the outcasts of society. We can unleash hope to a forgotten and discarded people group in a local community near the Love for Kenya ministry site. The third project is at Light of Hope in Kenya. We want to fight poverty through building and providing resources for a vocational center for the girls that are graduating from the orphanage. Vocational training has become an evident need as more girls are not able to attend university. They are working on implementing 4 training programs: hairdressing, sewing, computer skills, and welding. With real skills, girls will have a much better opportunity to help support their families. By doing all these things and many more projects, today you will have the opportunity to unleash hope to our local and global mission partners. 100% of your giving donations will go towards projects with our 17 mission partners. Let's help advance the gospel, transform communities, and fight poverty with our local and global mission partners.
Well, good morning. So good to have you guys here this morning. I'm Randy Stensgaard. I'm the pastor to men and global missions. And this is one of my favorite weekends because it's Unleashing Hope weekend. And actually, as I've been preparing for this weekend, someone actually came and unleashed hope unto me. I came into my office this week, and there's this incredible gift on my desk. So those of you that know me, you know pretty well, I'm kind of a picky eater. And so, Pastor Dan kind of referred to that a little bit, during our India trip, so I always bring my own food on these mission trips and stuff like that. And but every time I go to Kenya, I bring a special African food that, I just can't live without. And someone left some of that right on my desk today. So, right here, Little Debbie's zebra cakes. I mean, true, authentic African food, right? Zebra cakes. It says it right in the words, So that's one of my favorite, treats on a mission trip to Kenya. So Unleashing Hope, why is it so important? This is one of my favorite weekends because we have an opportunity to unleash hope locally and globally all over the world. If you look up here, the display, it's got a list of all of our local and global mission partners. Wow, we have 17 of them, 10 global and 7 local. We have an opportunity to make a difference in this day because all of our giving, all of our offering will go 100% towards these mission partners. And so one of the amazing things is this. We all come together to unleash hope in a greater way. One person can't do it all, but all of us can come together to make a huge impact locally and globally. And how do we do that? Well, the first one is this. It was pretty amazing. A couple years ago, we were praying about where we should do ministry in Kenya. So we're at our ministry site at Love for Kenya, and we're just praying. And all of a sudden, this strange word came about. So we're praying, we're doing listening prayer. If you remember, Pastor Bob and Pastor Dan, they were doing a whole series on listening. And so we're doing listening prayer on this trip, and all of a sudden, God gave me this strange word. It's called outhouse. And I'm like, outhouse? Okay, that's like a strange word. Is that really from God, or is that me, or something else? I don't know. It's just kind of a strange word. And then all of a sudden, a couple other people on our team kind of came up with the same word. And I'm like, okay, this is really strange. This is not a normal word that I would be using on a regular basis, and especially while we're praying. And all of a sudden, I shared it with one of our directors of the Widows Ministry at Love for Kenya, and her name is Rachel. And we go, Rachel, God gave us this word, but we have no idea what it means, And I said, outhouse. And her eyes just lit up, and she goes, I can't believe that God gave you that word, because God's been laying that on my heart for a long time. And I go, well, what does it mean? And she said, that we work with 108 widows. They're the outcasts of society within Kenya. And all of a sudden, we have the opportunity to make a difference by providing an outhouse for these widows And so, Randy, for you to get that word from God, that is amazing. God's given it to me, too. And so she took us to some of the widows, and we were able to see some of the sites. But I remember coming to Alice's house. She's one of our widows. And as we went to her house, she was just filled with this incredible joy because she knew that our team was going there to build her an outhouse. And actually, we don't build outhouses. I don't build outhouses. You wouldn't want me to build an outhouse because, I can't even build a little fort for myself, out of cardboard, So we want something that's actually going to last. And so we actually hired the locals in Kenya. Part of it is because there's 80% unemployment in Kenya. And here's an opportunity to hire some people in the community, pay them a little bit better wage, and help them make an impact also in their community while making a living. And so we show up at Alice's house, and she was just filled with joy. This hope was in her eyes. And she was singing and dancing and greeting us here. And she's hugging our team as they show up. We have Melody on our team, on the left there. And Randy Darling is just dancing with her, And that's why I take all the pictures because, this guy can't dance at all, So I take pictures of Randy Darling and others, doing that kind of thing. And but she was just so filled with joy that we would come there and provide this hope of an outhouse. And so then I went to Alice and I said, hey, this is something that you probably say every time you go to someone's house, hey, can I see your outhouse? Okay, kind of a strange thing. And so she brought me to her outhouse. And this is what it looked like. It's made out of sticks and some mud and a tin roof. And then there's a hole that is dug down 30 feet down below. And then some stick and some mud, just to cover kind of the spot that you would go. And so as I looked at this, I was just overwhelmed with the sight that I saw of this outhouse. And she said, during the summertime or the dry season, which we were there in January, it's the dry season, this is not really much of a problem. But when it rains during the rainy season, there's usually a couple months of nonstop rain and flooding. And the rain that's hitting the mud, it starts to wash it away on the sides of the walls, as you've seen right here a little bit. But not only that, the floor is made out of wood and mud, with a 30-foot hole down below. And what happens is a lot of times the water erodes that mud and sticks away, and there's a possibility of it to collapse and you would fall 30 feet down below. I'd never thought of those things. And all of a sudden, she had this incredible hope and joy that, wow, someone was going to provide something to help her, to give her a little bit of hope for the day. And so this is the outhouse that we're able to build. It's made out of brick and cement and a cement floor. And you notice that there's two doors there. So one is for the bathroom part, and then the other part is for kind of the shower stall, where they actually take a bucket bath and to wash off. And she was just so filled with joy. The hope that she received right there that day was amazing. I remember our team being around. And all of a sudden, the neighbors, now you have to remember, the widows are the outcasts of society. Nobody even gives them eye contact, let alone talk to them. And all of a sudden, all the neighbors came around to see this outhouse. And they said, why would you ever do something like this for a widow? And we said, before we could say anything, all of a sudden, Alice says, it's because of Jesus Christ. These people love Jesus so much, and God's called them to help provide a need for me. Wow. She knew that she was not forgotten by God. All the neighbors heard that it was because of Jesus Christ. Last year, we had an opportunity to go to another person's house, Erica. And Erica, we had the opportunity to build her a new home. And this is her existing home as we showed up onto the property. And I wanted to hear her story. She was one of our widows, one of the 108 widows at our orphanage that come to visit every Friday for a ministry that we have there. And as we arrived there, she was filled with this joy again. So excited, greeting us, singing and dancing just like the other widow. And all of a sudden, she started to share her story. What happened is she lived down in the slums of Nairobi, Kenya, probably about 8 hours from where this location is right now, in very horrible conditions. And her husband got sick with malaria and eventually passed away. And so the custom in Kenya for this family was that when a family member passes away, that you bring them back to the family land. And so they brought the body all the way back to the family land, which was just right down the road from the Love for Kenya ministry site. And so this is the family land here, and all of a sudden, all the neighbors came together to, put together the funeral service and everything. And it was during the rainy season. So they built this structure. It's probably about 8 by 8. So out of sticks and mud and a tin roof, and then it was used for the viewing of her husband's body. And so they used that. There's no windows in there. There's no door. There's just a door entrance. And after the funeral, she had no place to live. She couldn't go back to Nairobi. She had to stay there. But she's very poor. Nothing, no place to live. So her and her daughter, who's extremely ill, moved into this 8 by 8 structure that was not meant to be a home. It was a viewing hut. They moved in there. They didn't have any furniture, anything. And for the last 11 years, they've been laying on the dirt floor, and that's where they would sleep. For 11 years, can you imagine? We had the opportunity to unleash hope to her, to bring this joy of Jesus into her life. It was truly amazing. And so we hired some locals, and they went out to the bush and they chopped down a bunch of these trees and they started building the structure. And then our team, started to mud the walls. And you see Charles Dawes here, one of our guys from Plymouth Covenant Church. He's a master mud man, and stuff. He knows where to put that mud. And so he was directing our team, and we just had a great time helping to construct this new place for her to live. And it was actually a home, and then also right next to it was a kitchen that we built, because all the smoke is usually in the building, and so we didn't want it in the same place that they're going to be sleeping and living. And then at the end, here's the structure. It's not fully finished here, but it's almost done. And she was filled with incredible joy and hope that Jesus had provided for her. And here's a couple more pictures. I just love this. She was just clapping and singing and dancing, just filled with joy. Friends, this is because of unleashing hope here at Plymouth Covenant Church. You've had the opportunity to unleash hope in Kenya, in Mexico, in Alaska, in Belize, Nicaragua, and locally with Treehouse, Together for Good, Families Moving Forward, and so forth. Wow. The Unleashing Hope campaign has made a huge impact. I've had the opportunity to see it firsthand. And many of you have been on some of these trips, and so you've seen some of these projects. And you've seen God move in a great way. Let's look at Romans 15:13. It says this: May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. May the God of hope, our God is a God of hope. Hope to you and hope to our friends all over the world. When you have hope, God fills you with this joy that is unexplainable. And then allowing the Holy Spirit to just fill you so that it just overflows all over. Plymouth Covenant, you've had the opportunity, I've had the opportunity to unleash hope with our mission partners to make a huge difference. I think of places like Light of Hope in Kenya. It's a girls' orphanage. They're providing a training center. They're building this structure so that they can do a trade center, so that they can train up the girls in some type of trade, so that they can learn a skill to be able to make a living for themselves. Those are some of the many projects that we're doing this year. Wow. But why is hope so important? Why is hope important to you? Why is hope important to our mission partners around the world? Well, I believe there's 5 reasons. And the first one is this: hope liberates people. Hope sets people free. You feel like you're in bondage when there's no hope. You feel like you can't move forward. You can't do anything. You feel trapped. It liberates you. It sets you free. The second one is this: hope unleashes compassion on people. And it gives an opportunity for you to unleash compassion. We've had the opportunity to have compassion on our mission partners. I love the model of Jesus, of course, because he unleashed compassion to people all over the world when he was preaching the gospel. And so here's Jesus, and there's so many different references in the Gospels, and here's just one. Matthew 14:14 says this: when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on him and healed the sick. So many times Jesus saw certain individuals or groups of people, and he was filled with compassion for them. In this case, the sick, and was able to heal some of the sick. I believe that when you have hope, it's almost like a healing process because you feel like you can move forward. Wow. The next one is this: hope encourages people. Hope is such an encouragement to people when you feel like there is no hope. It's an opportunity for you to encourage your family members, people that you work with, your friends, your neighbors, to give them hope sometimes. Sometimes it's just helping them in a small way, and all of a sudden that's an encouragement. It might be with some money, it might be something, or it might be doing something for someone. It's the small encouragement that gives people hope. Hope motivates to find new strength. It motivates you to have this new strength that you can go on when you feel like you can't go on anymore. It motivates you. And the last one is this: hope propels people forward when you feel like it is impossible to go forward. It propels you. It's like leaning forward. All of a sudden you're going forward. It propels you when you feel like it's hopelessness. That's why hope is so important. It's important to each and every one of us, but it's important to all of our mission partners all over the world and locally here to give them hope. But how do we do this? We do it 3 different ways. The first way is this: by advancing the gospel. We believe that that's got to be one of our first and foremost priorities, is to help our mission partners advance the gospel so that people know Jesus Christ. And that's why we're here at Plymouth Covenant Church. It's because of the gospel, because of Jesus, because of the good news of salvation through Jesus Christ. John 14:6 says this: Jesus answered, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me." Wow, Jesus is truly the way. He is all truth, and he is life. He's given us new life. And we want to see that happen with our mission partners, especially our global mission partners all over the world. That's why we're here. Matthew 28:19-20 talks about go and make disciples of all nations. We're not supposed to be just here, but we're supposed to go. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, about how you have the opportunity to go and make a difference. Well, we have an opportunity to unleash hope by giving of our funds. The last few years, the last 5 or 6 years, we've given each year almost $250,000 that's been raised through this Unleashing Hope campaign to be able to send it all over to make a difference. We want to be able to advance the gospel and see people come to know Jesus. And here's just a couple stories. One is in Belize. That's one of our mission partners with Pastor Hurdy. He's a very musically gifted man, and he's a pastor, but he uses his musical talents to draw in crowds from the community, to be able to share the gospel so that many come to know Jesus in a personal way. And in love for Kenya, this last year, it was just an incredible time because my daughter and the rest of our team were praying about where we should go to do ministry. And this is another one of those listening prayers, as Pastor Bob and Pastor Dan have been talking about the last few weeks in the series, about listening prayer. And we're praying, and all of a sudden God laid it on our hearts to go to a certain home down the road from the orphanage in Kenya, and that we would go there, and that there's a family that needed us to go. And so we prayed about it, and we knew exactly where God was calling us, and so we went there, and all of a sudden this lady meets us at the door, and she was so excited. She goes, "I knew you were coming." What do you mean you knew that we were coming? God just told us just a few minutes ago. But God told you? She goes, "Yes, this is in January." She goes, "Back a month ago in December, we were crying out to God, God, help us. Help us. Our daughter is so ill. We need help." And God said, "I'm sending someone." The orphanage up the hill, down the road, there's a group coming. They're going to come and visit you. It gave her this hope. She knew that we were coming. She didn't know when. She didn't know if it would be January, February, March, or whenever. But she knew that we were coming. And all of a sudden we show up, and it's like, wow, they showed up right here. And then she went on to say, she goes, "You know what? For the last 5 years, I've seen your team pass by my house each and every time that you've been here, and you've never stopped. But then we prayed, and God said that you would stop this time. So I knew that when you came back, you would stop." We were able to be there. And the cool thing was this: we were able to bring food to them, some bed mattresses and so forth. We provided some hope for them, and then medicine for their daughter to get better. Wow. So as we left that house, and we felt like, wow, this is really cool that God led us there. But it didn't stop there. What happened was this: all of a sudden, right next door, there was this neighbor, and my daughter, Brooke, she noticed that this man's foot was cut. And so she grabbed part of the team and said, "Hey, let's go grab some bandages and help bandage this foot up for this man." And so they went and did that, and all of a sudden, about 15 neighbors came around and said, "Hey, what's going on here?" All of a sudden, they gathered around, and they were able to hear the good news of Jesus. Because we were able to share the reason why we're here ministering to this family with the sick child and this man with the cut foot is because of Jesus Christ. And 15 people gave their lives to Christ. Wow, isn't that amazing? Wow, yeah, praise God. Woo. You think of things like that where God speaks to you and leads you to a certain place to be able to share the gospel, meet felt needs around you. And you think of the outhouse that was built, and that outhouse became a lighthouse to people into the community to share the gospel, to advance the gospel. Another story about advancing the gospel just happened this last, few months, but especially the last few days. Two of our people from Plymouth Covenant Church, Janine and Susan, had the opportunity to go back to India. They've been going on the India trip for quite some time over the last few years, and they have a great ministry there with our ministry partner called Anurag. Anurag is a ministry that does so many things for the community that they're in New Delhi, and it's providing opportunities to learn how to be a teacher, learn a trade of sewing to make clothing and so forth, and all kinds of things. I think they have about 15 different trade school type things that you can get a degree in. And so there's two people on staff at Anurag. One is Sarah, and the other one is Heron. And so Heron was teaching music at the school there at Anurag. And then Sarah was also teaching there. She was in charge of the supporting the sponsors, supporting the children. And but Sarah, not too long ago, came to know Jesus just by working there and seeing the love of Jesus there. And it was so amazing because all of a sudden, she met Heron, and they decided to get married. And here they are. So it was the first Christian wedding from any of the staff at Honorog. And it was a great celebration, but you have to understand, Sarah, the bride, she grew up Hindu. Didn't know that you could know Jesus in a personal way. She comes to know Jesus, and the cool thing is her family did not want this Christian wedding at the beginning. But then all of a sudden, they noticed the change in her life because of Jesus. And they gave their blessing to have this Christian wedding. And then Janine and Susan took some time out of their busy lives to travel there, to go be there with them, to support them, because they've known this couple for so many years. Advancing the gospel. You never know what God's going to do and how he's going to do it. But through Plymouth Covenant Church, we've seen many people come to know Christ. Another area that we encourage our mission partners to do is transform communities. And that's a natural response when we unleash hope, is we have the opportunity to transform communities in a real way. It starts by an individual being transformed, and then a family is transformed, and then a neighborhood, and then a whole community can be changed because of Jesus. Wow. I think of our mission partner in Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a country that is poverty-stricken, and the ministry site that we have there is pretty amazing. Pastor Bob started to lead that trip a few years back, and then a guy by the name of Jim Burgess here at Plymouth Covenant Church, he's kind of taken on certain projects. But if you can imagine, there's this river here, and on one side of the river is one community, and then on the other side of the river is another community. And so during the dry season, the river dries up. And the people on one side of the river have to cross the riverbed that's dried up to get to the other side, because that's where they can buy their food and supplies and for their children to be able to go to school. But during 2 or 3 months out of the year, it's the rainy season. And all of a sudden, the river fills up. And people still have to try to cross that river to get their supplies and get their children to school. And every year, between 10 and 15 people get washed away down the river and over a waterfall and lose their lives. They're crying out for help. We need something. We don't know what to do. But God laid it on the hearts of Plymouth Covenant Church. Many people here, this is what could maybe happen, to build a bridge to be able to get across, not only for people to get across, but sometimes their animals, their cattle and so forth. But the other thing is this: the children are able to get to school, because usually before the bridge was built, what happened was this: the kids could not go to school for 3 months out of the year when the river was raging down, because they'd be swept away. So they'd say, sorry, you cannot go to school. And it holds them back from learning. Wow. Transformation of a whole community, and then they're open to the gospel, to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. Another way that transformation of a community is this. There's a family in our church called the Hansons, Paul and Julie, and just love those people. It's just been amazing, the journey that you've been on. You might have heard their story. We had a video on it a few months back. But here's a little bit bigger picture of the story. There's a ministry that we partner with here at Plymouth Covenant Church, one of our local partners, and it's called Together for Good. And so they come alongside families that are in crisis and help provide a safe home for the children while the family is going through this crisis and trying to get through it. And so families in a church like ours would have the opportunity to take in the children and care for them for a short amount of time. And so the Hansons, they were praying about this. Should we do this? And actually, Paul and Julie's kids, they're like, yes, we really want to do this. And Paul and Julie are like, well, I'm not sure. Let's continue to pray about it, And all of a sudden, as they were praying about it, they really sensed that God was calling them all to do this. And so about a year ago, they had the first opportunity for a family that was in crisis, a young woman, a single woman, had 2 children, an 18-month-old and a newborn. And they were placed in Paul and Julie's home. And they thought it might be just for a few days. And all of a sudden, a few days turned into a few weeks, and then a few months. And they've had these kids for a full year. They've been able to unleash hope to the kids, but not only the kids, also the single mom that's still in this crisis. And the amazing thing is, I talked to Julie this week. She goes, you know, the great blessing through this, and it's not been easy at all. But it's been an incredible joy to care for these kids. But she said the greatest blessing has been this. It's changed our entire family. It's taken selfishness out of my kids' lives and my life and Paul's life. Our whole family, the selfishness has been taken out. And she also said that with their kids, it's created this heart of compassion and love that's been just displayed day in and day out as they're caring for these two young children. But it's not only transformed their family, it's also transformed their neighborhood, because all of a sudden all the neighbors are coming over saying, hey, what's going on here? How come you have two more children? You know, where'd they come from? And they're able to share the story and to share their faith about Jesus has called us to do this. Now, Paul and Julie, they have full-time jobs. They're working on a regular basis, but they're taking on a couple more children to unleash hope. We have the opportunity to unleash hope and transform communities right here locally and around the world. Wow. The third area is fighting poverty. We have the opportunity to fight poverty all over the world and even locally here. But what does poverty look like for you? What does poverty look like for me? I don't know. It's going to look different. But you know what? In a third world, it looks radically different. In a third world country, poverty looks like this. It could be not having a school uniform to be able to go to school. There's a requirement in so many countries around the world that you have to have a school uniform to be able to attend class. So poverty might be not being able to have a uniform to be able to go to school. It might not be having 3 meals a day. It's only having 1 meal a day. And that one meal might only be a cup of chai tea. Poverty might be sleeping on a dirt, mud floor. What does poverty look like? It looks different all over the world. But we have the opportunity to unleash hope in a very real way. We're doing some more listening prayer, and I just love that whole topic of listening prayer. And so here we are. We were on a trip to Kenya 2 years ago, and one of our people on our team, Krista, she was praying and she saw this vision of someone that she was called to minister to. But not only that, there's this verse, Isaiah 40:31 says this, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." Wow, incredible. So Krista's praying, and she had this image, and all of a sudden she sees this image of this woman that she's called to go minister to. Now, she's never seen this woman ever before, but God had given her this image, and it was this woman that had something around her head, on top of her head. And then also she was wearing a shirt that had a certain pattern. And so all of a sudden, before we went out to go minister, all of a sudden, Krista is writing down, everything that she's seeing, this image, and then she draws out the diagram of the pattern of the shirt of the woman that she's called to go see. And so she didn't know where this woman's going to be, but all of a sudden, I said to Krista, I said, hey, part of our team's going down to this widow's home down into the valley behind the orphanage, and we're going to go down there, and they're going to start construction on this new home for this widow. We have not met her before, but she's a part of our widows program, and so we're going to go down there and do this. And all of a sudden, we go down there, and Krista's discouraged because she hasn't seen the woman that God showed her. And she goes, I really thought that it was God that gave me this image. I can't believe that I haven't seen it. And so she was just really discouraged. And all of a sudden we come to this woman's house, this widow's house, and she comes out the door, and we're all excited to see her because, construction's going to start on this new home for her to give her hope. And all of a sudden I look over, and the rest of our team look over, and we see Krista Anderson on our team, and she is just weeping. And we go, Krista, what is wrong? And she goes, remember I told you about the woman that God showed me with this head dressing and then a certain shirt? This is the woman. This is the widow that God showed me. And she was able to go see her and run up and give her this hug. And her name is Elamina. Elamina was able to hear the story from Krista. Krista was able to share this story, and all of a sudden Elamina feels like, wow, God personally sent you, Krista, and our team, but especially Krista, to love on her, provide food for her, and some clothing, and provide for her in her poverty. Wow. God is so big. He does amazing things. He's unleashed hope right there and then with Elamina. And here's a picture of the drawing that she had, and it was so similar to the shirt that she was wearing. Wow. God is the God of details, and He cares for people, individuals. So unleashing hope. How can we unleash hope here at Plymouth Covenant Church? There's so many different ways. First off, in your own community, in your neighborhood, in your family, look around. How can you unleash hope to people? But for our mission partners, start out by praying. Praying for our 7 local partners and our 10 global partners. Pray for them. They want to unleash hope wherever they go to the people that they're ministering to. So pray for them. They need the strength. They need hope. Second one is this: go. Go on a missions trip. I don't know if you know this, but we have about 4 or 5 missions trips going someplace in the world between January and March. Go on a trip. If you've never been on one, I want to challenge you and encourage you to go on a missions trip. It'll transform your life in a radical way. Every time I lead a trip, God does something in my own personal life, but not only that, our team's lives. In Love for Kenya or Belize or Mexico, wherever the trips go, God does something. But not only that, you would have the opportunity to see firsthand the unleashing of hope to the people that you're ministering to. And I don't know if you know this. This is probably one of the best kept secrets here at Plymouth Covenant Church. So don't tell everyone. Well, yes, just tell everyone. So here's the secret. Plymouth Covenant Church, with all of our missions trips that we do each year, Plymouth Covenant Church covers 50%, half of your trip cost. You might think, I can't afford to go on a missions trip. Our church believes, our leadership believes in providing this experience for you to partner with our mission partners. So they cover half of the cost. Wow. I know no other church that does that. I'm sure there's churches out there, but all the churches that I've been at have not done anything like that. Plymouth Covenant Church wants to help you unleash hope. Pray about where God might be calling you to go on one of our 10 global mission partner trips. Maybe it's this year, maybe it's next year. And the third thing that I want to challenge you with is this: give. Give of your heart. Give your heart. Allow it to be filled with compassion. Give your heart to people that are in great need so that you can unleash hope. Give of your money. Give sacrificially so that you can help make a huge difference locally and globally through our Unleashing Hope campaign. Be a generous giver. The third one is this: give of your time. Give of your time to serve someplace. Maybe it's with one of our local mission partners. Coming up in December, we have Families Moving Forward, like I mentioned before, where we have 4 homeless families that are moving into the church. Give of your time to serve and make a difference with them. Wow, there's so many opportunities locally and globally. Maybe it's with Treehouse. Maybe it's with Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. There's so many opportunities. But give of your time. There's three of my friends that have given so much time to the Love for Kenya ministry here, and I just want to highlight them. So Molly Moore and Lisa and Randy Darling. And so these three, they've gone on different trips with me, but Molly, she's taken the time, she's gone twice, she's sponsored a child there, and so she's giving lots of different ways. But then also what she does is she provides an opportunity to gather all the birthday gifts for all the children at the orphanage and puts them all together and then has our team bring them to Kenya. Wow, she's giving of her extra time. And then Lisa gives her time by serving on our leadership team, our MAT team is what we call it, missions advocacy team. And so she serves on that, and she's also led a couple teams to Love for Kenya. And then Randy Darling, he sponsors a child there, but he also serves on the leadership team. He's giving. He wants to make a difference. And there's so many of our people here at Plymouth Covenant that are serving in these teams. And so we just applaud you because God's using you to bring hope locally and globally. And so, friends, we want to challenge you to unleash hope locally and globally through this Unleashing Hope campaign. What is God calling you to do to make a huge difference through Plymouth Covenant Church locally and around the world? I'm going to ask Pastor Dan to come up.
Thank you, Randy. Could you give him a hand? Thank you for that. Thank you, Randy. Thank you. He's a man full of stories, many stories of what God is doing. You know what's interesting? When you tell these stories, if it's about somebody else, somebody else's family, somebody at the edge of the world, it's easy to let the story just come in and go out. Well, that was nice to know. What if it's a story about your family? What if it's a story about somebody you know and you love? It changes everything. You know, in a moment I'll put this slide up again to show you how to give, but I want to show you another picture if I could. This is close to my heart. When we were in India last month, I went and visited one of the families that we've known for about 12 years now. The little girl up at the front was about this tall when I first met her, scared of this white American, ran away from me, didn't want to talk to me. Her name is Pooja. We kind of sponsor Pooja for the last 12 years, $30 a month. It's nothing huge, and yet it's changed the course of history in her life. It's fascinating. When I was there to see her this last time, she's a grown young lady going to school now, going to become a government teacher, and she loves Jesus. 2 years ago, she gave her heart to Jesus at one of the camps that our church was leading, and Pooja came to know Jesus. And what's fascinating to me is she's a part of my family, and when I look at the new hope in her, it's just a light that's on. Her name, Pooja, means offering to God, or honor to God, or reverence to God. Her dad is a Hindu priest. She's right now taking her brothers to church and her mom. And we're just praying. Her little brother, her middle brother, doesn't know Jesus right now, and he's struggling with his faith, but the other two brothers have come to know Christ. But we're not finished with them. Praying for Pooja to find a good Christian husband. Praying that their entire family will come to know Christ, because we want to see hope unleashed in their life. You see, for me, this offering we're doing today is personal. This is my family. It's your family. These are brothers and sisters, partners for the gospel, that are desperately in need of simple things like a van or a book or just food on the table. Will you step up with me? This is how you do it. You can give cash, checks. I mentioned at the connection service that none of this money goes to our church, so I don't get paid today, somebody said. That's right, Rita. I don't get paid today. Thanks for pointing that out. But it's interesting when I think about that. None of the money goes towards mission trips either. When Randy said that, this money all goes outside of our church. We don't keep a penny of this. We give it all away. And we're really excited about that. And then as I look at this online, it's really easy. Go to our webpage, and you can find up in the corner it says give, and follow the instructions. Just make sure you mark Unleashing Hope or Missions. And I like this one, text to give. We get your number. You can continue to give. It's so easy. You can just sit at home and give us money. It's just that simple. And so I want you to learn how to do this, okay? So go and try it. Send me $1 and then add some zeros to it the next time, okay? Love to have you do that. And then last of all, bank or credit card. They'll be out near the hub, and if you want to just give with a bank or credit card, you can do that today. Pav's going to lead us in music as you prayerfully consider how God wants you to give. If you're not prepared to give today and you want to go pray, talk to your spouse about this or whatever you need to do, you can do that this week. Just make sure you mark your check very clearly. Let's stand as we sing How Great Is Our God and take our offering.
The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. And how great is our God, and how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great, and how great is our God. From age to age he stands, from age to age he stands, and time is in his hand, and time is in his hand, beginning and the end, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead 3 in 1, the Godhead 3 in 1, Father, Spirit, Son, and Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great and how great, come on, lift it up, is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great, and how great is our God. Name above all names, let's sing this. And he's the name above all names, and worthy of all praise. And my heart will say, how great is our God. There's no one like him, 'cause he's the name above all names, and worthy of all praise. And my heart will say, how great is our God, and how great is our God, we sing, and how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great, and how great is our God.
Friends, let's unleash hope locally and around the world through advancing the gospel, transforming communities, and fighting poverty. Take the next 38 seconds and give a word of encouragement, of hope, to the person next to you. Let's go unleash hope. Bless you.